says you're good to go.
All right, sweet. All right, well, welcome guys to this this community call for the V2 launch. It's been a while coming now, to be honest, but I'm glad we're here and we're able to get this sorted and done. All right, I mean, this isn't our first community call. It's actually number 3. So the introductions aren't really necessary, but we'll just go through it once more as per usual. So today you've got me, NFT Pixels. I'm part of developer relations and quite active in Discord. Being an ex-community member myself, I've been dealing with the SDK for about a year now and developing a multitude of different games. I'll pass the mic over to Sneaks so he can introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Pixels. I'm Sneaks. I'm a software engineer. I'm one of the core developers for the SDK. I was one of the first gaming stages. I moved into community support lead, which Pixels is now doing an absolute amazing job doing that. And yeah, basically just engineering code away. I will now pass to Kwame.
Thanks,
my name's Kwame. I am also a software engineer on the web3.unity project. And yeah, that's pretty much me. Just develop things and hope you guys enjoy V2. And a shout out to Jan and Leon and all the other team members that weren't able to make it today. And I'll pass it to Alex.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. I'm Alex, a Voto on Discord. I'm a product manager for the gaming team. So if you want to talk about new features or anything like that, feel free to hop them into GitHub as a feature request. And then if you want to chat more about it in depth, reach out to me or any kind of like businessy partnership related stuff. I'm here and all yours. So thanks everyone, and really appreciate the team working on V2 and for all the community support we've had from the transition going onward.
Thanks guys, appreciate the introductions. With no further ado, let's get into it. All right, so for those that aren't aware who we are, ChainSafe Gaming is a complete suite of Web3 gaming products and services for studios, developers, and players to bring games into the future. It includes a full-featured gaming SDK, as you guys may have noticed with version 2.0 releasing, web3.unity, an NFT minter, and in-game marketplace that activates your players for self-sustainable games. So we are kind of like the Swiss Army knife of gaming SDKs when it comes to Web3 development. We do a whole bunch, and there's a whole bunch of stuff coming up as well that you can be super excited about. So let's have a quick look here. So actually, this slide, sorry, I should have actually gone one step to the left. But this is kind of just the layout of today's community call here, where we introduce the team, we talk about the V2 launch, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end for everyone to ask their questions and whatnot. Okay, so let's start with a banger question. What is V2? What is the hype around it? So, in keeping with our values, we're taking the first steps towards a more decentralized and open source SDK. So, with the launch of web3.unity version 2.0, this is a new chapter for us here at ChainSafe Gaming. We're excited to share all the details with our community today. So, here is what you need to know. In the current state of web3.unity, we've kind of been using APIs or API service to make calls, which then either performed a read query on the user's behalf and returned the result, or formed the right transaction that was then sent back to the game for the player to sign with their wallet, or it was broadcasted through Unity. Now, the kind of ideal future state of the SDK, where we want to be, it's kind of always been to make it as decentralized as possible, given the space in itself is decentralized. So in keeping with that, the launch of V2 enables client-side reads and writes directly from Unity and the RPC provider of your choice. This means it minimizes the need for ChainSafe's intermediary APIs. So by providing your own RPC provider, calls often are a lot more reliable. I guess actually even maybe a little bit faster, depending on your RPC provider of choice. Cool. And so by reducing the need for interactions with the API server from 1.6 and backwards, the limitation on reads and writes in any one direction gets mitigated. Instead, users can directly query the blockchain using their own local node. So this is what I was mentioning. You can host your own node, deploy your own RPC node, and calls will just be a lot more reliable and potentially a little bit faster as well. So by doing this, actions get taken as close as possible to where they need it. So with no servers slowing things down between the wallet and the blockchain, it puts more control in the hands of you guys, the developers, by reducing dependency on our API services and allowing devs to choose their own RPC providers, of course, for broadcasting their transactions. So now that is quite a bit to take in. I think Tim is recording this if you guys want to just rewatch this and go through it. But let's have a quick look here at the actual actual benefits here. So decentralizing the SDK will obviously make things a lot faster, just like I mentioned. It's more scalable, and it also just means that you guys can shape your projects a lot more to the extent that you want to shape it, and not to the limitations of the API servers on our end. All right, so let's have a look at some of the benefits here of V2. So there actually are quite a few. We'll actually start off. I'll see if I can. Okay, no, it doesn't highlight. We'll start off with the improved reliability. So this upgrade and this version of the SDK gives developers the flexibility to choose the best infrastructure for their use case and avoid possible downtime, while also choosing fallback options if any inferior provider fails. So this pretty much means if one RPC node gives you a bit of hiccups, you can go to a different RPC provider, and your game should still be running after swapping from one RPC to another. Personally, I've done this quite a bit. I've done quite a bit of RPC hopping, some are better than others, and sometimes it takes a while for you to find that ideal node, but once you've got it, it's kind of like home and everything just works flawlessly. This also improves scalability. So game studios will be able to pick and choose the infrastructure that serves their uptime requirements. Again, just going back to the API servers, no longer are we kind of a middleman, and if something goes down on our end, it kind of slows down everyone's progression and development. So you should see that fade out now entirely with this version as we move to dedicated RPC nodes. The SDK speed has also been dramatically increased. Personally, I find this to be quite true with WebGL builds. The lack of lots of JavaScript libraries means that compiling times are way down, which is kind of nice, really, because I used to test on desktop because it's quicker. Matter of fact, I guess I still do, but WebGL is so much quicker to compile that you could probably build a WebGL build equally as fast as a desktop build to just test things out for the web version of your game as well. So that's one of the biggest speed improvements I've seen using 2.0, or 2.0.1 at the moment. And then moving on to transaction handling, improved event listening here is super important. So you get a notification immediately when a transaction goes through, rather than having to ping an API server repeatedly for a status or a response update or anything like that. In Windows 11, I found this to be especially true. As soon as I send a transaction, MetaMask actually lets me know by notification that my transaction has failed or it's been successful and whatnot. So back in 1.6, you would have had to ping. I don't know if some of you guys may have used the odd transaction check function where you used to ping the transaction API server, and then it would return either true, false, or pending, or success, failed, pending, and then base your logic around that. Well, luckily, there's no longer anything to do with that. The transaction handling has definitely improved, moving on to 2.0 from 1.6. And yeah, so the last step here is, or the last benefit here, sorry, is that it improves collaboration. So open sourcing V2 invites the gaming community to contribute meaningfully to the code base. It helps us to debug, optimize, and ultimately determine for you guys to determine whether it may be undesirable or infeasible for service providers to run infrastructure. So it's kind of good to get you guys involved as well. It gives you insight of what's involved, and it also eventually helps us shape the future of the SDK based on what you guys drafted. So there's quite a long list of benefits. Especially again, the speed one for me is incredible. Using RPCs is incredible. The performance difference, it's definitely there, and also with reliability, it's definitely there. So I'm actually quite excited for that bit with the benefits. Let's move on to the next slide here, and we can just have a quick look at the overall process of what that means for you guys. Now, before I start this list here, I just kind of want to mention that I've recently had to port, I think, three 3 games, both big and small, over to V2, and it was actually surprisingly pleasant to go over it. I think the biggest kind of learning curve would be to deploy our own RPC node, but of course we've got videos, we've got documentation, we have all that set up in order for you guys to move over from 1.6 whichever version you were on to this new version 2.0. And of course, there's YouTube videos and tutorials, and I might be incorrect for saying this now, but we will be working on a little series just showing you guys how to migrate a game over to 2.0. At least that from my end, I'll be working on that. But let's have a quick look here at what this means for you guys. So if you've been using 1.6, it's no surprise that we have to register our product, or we have a project ID now. This helps us with analytics. It helps us to shape the SDK, and it also helps us to just help you guys better in Discord, because beforehand we had no insight as to the calls being made and the functions being used. So troubleshooting was quite difficult going in blind. So that's the reason for registering our project ID. The second point here, which I've mentioned, is the RPC endpoint. So this is through either QuickNode, through Infura, through ChainSafe. It all depends on your provider of choice. The good news is it is free. If you want to, go enterprise level, you can pay for a significant amount of calls. But ChainSafe, for instance, gives you Sneaks, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's like 3 million a month, isn't it? Like 3 or 5 million?
Yeah, it's 3 million a month, and then per month, if you go each million you go over that, it's only $10, so it's quite cheap.
Yeah.
But you get 3 million for free, and most projects don't hit that until late in production.
100%. That's a lot of calls to be made. So usually that is quite good. Yeah, that's. I don't think I've even breached 100K in the last 2 months of testing. So that's pretty good. So yeah, just give you guys an idea. You sign up for a node provider, and then you get an RPC endpoint. After which, once you've got your endpoint, you would simply go and update your code. So if you look at the new documentation, I'm not sure if we'll be posting that somewhere. I believe it's live already, but we could probably put that in the chat if someone's available to quickly just copy paste the documentation link into chat. You should see that there's still the legacy code, so you can kind of compare legacy compared to the new 2.0 code, if you will. But that would be probably the biggest step. The easiest, really, it is just copy paste, and then, well, depending on how your product or your game has been shaped, that will vary on what you're building. And of course, last but not least, you just have to test your game to ensure all functions work the same way as before. Out of experience, I can tell you, like I mentioned, I've done this 3 times around now. It's really easy. To be honest, I don't want to say it's hard. It's just copy paste work. But the more I've used version 2.0 and the more I've ported games from 1.6 to 2.0, the simpler it becomes. You realize that the calls are more efficient, the code is cleaner. Like I mentioned, RPC node response times are way down. It's super, super convenient. And of course, then compiling is a blast, because I compile up to maybe, I think, a minute and a half compared to the 7 minutes from the 1.6 series. So for me personally, as a developer and as a community member as well, that's excellent. So I do appreciate that the team put the effort into building that out. And last but not least, we'll just have a look at the community contribution wish list, because without the community, we wouldn't be able to be where we are today with the SDK. So V2 will be open source. It gives developers and players the opportunity to contribute to building the most flexible blockchain gaming tool to date. Want to make... sorry, apologies. My documentation moved. We kind of invite you guys to tweak parameters, to audit the code, and make contributions where you guys see fit. Because, in my time within the community, I know that a lot of you guys are super smart, and you've been building some insane projects. Especially in the last maybe half year or so, I've seen some really, really good people working with the SDK, and it'll be super nice to see you guys contribute to the SDK, contribute to some of the code, kind of speak out in the community. We were looking for people like that every day. So yeah, if you feel like you want to add on or build onto this tool, then by all means, we invite you to do so for Git. We wouldn't be here without you guys at the end of the day. To fulfill our vision for web3.unity, we need contributions. So a heartfelt thank you to you guys for your continued support. And obviously, a lot of stuff planned for future, and we can't wait to see what's gonna happen next. And then time for Q&A. I'm not sure if anyone has got any questions, but now would be a good time to ask you questions. I'm sure we'll be handling a lot of questions in Discord anyway.
I guess I have a question for the folks here. Has anyone tried updating their code to V2 or building a new game on V2 of the folks who are not from ChainSafe? So we've got Nielsen, Tricky Mick, Building Dwarf, and Mitch Soster.
I haven't built pretty much anything yet before. This is like my first entry into like building games or doing anything with Web3, so I'm real entry level compared to everyone else here, probably.
That's so good though. We all start. I mean, Sneaks will tell you how many times I knocked on his door when I started building my game. I had no experience with using the SDK or integrating it into Unity at all. So don't stress, man. If you've got any sort of questions or hiccups, just pop in Discord. I mean, you may have already noticed how hectic it can get there. Just yeah. If you need any kind of guidance or help, feel free to let us know.
Maybe what are you hoping to build?
Well, I don't want to show my own stuff, but that's the only way for me to explain it. So if you see the little frog there, that's my NFT collection, and there's a bunch of different ones on Ethereum Classic, like a Basie or whatever, Anyway, so I'm trying to build a 2D side scroller where I'm just going to enable or disable the player select screen based on what NFT you hold. And then one of the coins in the game that'll be like a harder to get coin is going to be enabled or disabled based upon that as well. And then we do.
Oh, I think we might have lost your audio real quick.
Yeah, I think you cut out, Tricky.
For the end, we're going to do a leaderboard where the top 5 will get.
The last thing we heard was you might get a token or not based on the whether you own the NFT.
Oh yeah, so if you have each NFT, you can use that character, or if you have the specific NFT that's a token called ApeCoin Classic, and you can get that in game, which is worth more points than like the regular ETC coins you can collect. And then at the end of the month, we want everyone to be able to, get a little bit of a dividend, from the Ethereum Classic mining that the collection does.
Dude, that sounds rad. Super cool.
Man, I can tell you, I saw. I don't want to bring Dookie Dash into this, but man, it makes me so mad that people are spending money on that. It's just like a cash grab, and it really bothers me. And I want to make something that's not a cash grab, and that's like a legitimate, good side scroller that brings people into the space.
That's sick. Yeah, get it back in touch with us too. Or feel free to share on the gaming showcase channel on Discord, and I'd love to ask you some questions about it once you get started.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate any feedback, even if it's constructive criticism. I don't mind hearing the hate. It's something that I have to hear that helps me build and get better.
Nothing but love on this end.
Don't worry, Tricky. We're all here to help, man. We've all received our own set of constructive criticism on our games, but we're not like that. We're very supportive, and like you were, I think I saw you in the Gaming Jobs channel the other day. If you need any help with some parts of your game or integrating, NFT ownership checks, just reach out like in the primary Discord chat. I've actually created a series on YouTube, man, that explains kind of everything on how you import NFTs, check ownership, and then change game logic based on ownership. So after the call, if you wanted to, just ping me in like the gaming help or the general Web3 gaming channel, and I'll see how I can help you.
Definitely, and I greatly appreciate that. You guys should do like a little like monthly service pass or something where someone can subscribe. Like, hey, I'll pay this per month for like a little bit of help here and there. I think it's just something a lot of people would definitely get into.
We're actually we're thinking about that. So that's helpful feedback.
Totally agree with that.
Really?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the help on the channel is pretty awesome. So I think a lot of us would agree to pay a small fee to have that kind of help and feedback all the time.
That's super helpful. Yeah, we've been thinking about it and hadn't really. I think we've spoken with some studios about like larger studios that they would find that helpful, but we hadn't heard from smaller teams or indie devs or anyone like that regarding that. So I will definitely take that back to our folks and see if we can contribute some like DevRel and engineering time to like helping you guys out.
Yeah, makes sense.
Cool.
That's awesome
Walking
feedback,
out over here,
guys.
super happy about that. Like, woo!
I mean, this is what the community calls for. Like, I'm taking notes on all this stuff. So thank you guys.
Yeah, sure.
Or any other questions by any chance? All right, in that case, I think we can safely conclude this community call. And obviously, I'd like to thank you guys for joining. And seriously, the feedback is super helpful. That whole extra help thing has been on our agenda for a while now, where we weren't sure. So we do appreciate you guys being vocal about that. And of course, speak out if there's something you guys want to see, if there's something that would make your time here easier or the SDK a little bit more convenient to use. Feel free to either reach out in Discord, to Avodo directly via one of the channels in Discord. We're always here. We're always here to help and listen and see what we can do to make life a little bit easier for you guys. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. I'll conclude the call here.
Guys.
And
Thank you.
yeah,
For joining.
have a great day.
All right, peace out, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
See you guys.